Polls are now closed in Idaho, and we are awaiting results from the GOP primary in that state. Now, it's been a big night so far for Donald Trump, and Fox News is projecting that in Mississippi, Donald Trump comes in first. Senator Ted Cruz, he comes in second. Governor John Kasich and Senator Marco Rubio are third and fourth. And in Michigan, Trump wins there, too. Kasich is in second, Cruz in a close third. Rubio finishes last. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton comes out on top in Mississippi. She defeats Bernie Sanders, and at this hour in Michigan, the race is too close to call between Sanders and Clinton. Here with reaction, the co-hosts of The Five, two good friends of mine, Kimberly Guilfoyle, KG, and EB, Eric Bolling, both and Fox News contributor Kirsten Powers. All right, I'm watching a lot of the coverage tonight, Eric and Kimberly especially, and I'll get to you, Kirsten, on the Democratic side. And I'm watching it, and it seems that the big story is being lost in all of this. And that is, we've had 24 contests. We have 2 outstanding on the Republican side. And 20 of those have been won loudly and clearly by insurgents. There is a political revolution underway in this country, and nobody seems to really want to acknowledge it. And people are complaining and talking about, well, Donald Trump, was responding to Mitt Romney tonight, not getting the bigger picture. Thoughts, Eric?
So, Sean, I've been doing this by the numbers for a while because I started out trying to have an opinion on it, and people just, there's so much animosity, there's so much anger that's been built up. If you say, I think this one's going to be the one, the people who aren't that one just go crazy. So I've been doing it by the numbers, and Kimberly will attest to this. What I've seen going into tonight was that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are the inevitable. One of those two has to be the nominee. They're getting 70+% of the popular vote, the actual ballots. They're getting 90% of the states or territories won. So to try and take that away from them down the road, it would be disastrous. Let me just tell you this, though. After tonight, things change. I saw a sea change tonight in the way the attitude is. People who are still, the establishment class, even some pundits and some news people are going, yeah, but it's not but anymore. Right now, Donald Trump just took down Mississippi, which gives him the whole South. That leaves just Florida remaining. Marco Rubio coming in fourth with 9% in Michigan is such a bad sign. It looks like Trump will take Florida. It's time. Honestly, I'll call it right here in your show, Sean. Marco Rubio needs to step aside right now. If he wants to run for governor of Florida, which I think he does, and if he wants to save that possibility, he has to get out now before it gets really bad for him a week from tonight.
All right, KG, Kimberly, let me go to you.
Yeah.
But you know something? But if you listen to Mitt Romney's speech and you look at those people, you look at the Sea Island, Georgia conference of millionaires, billionaires, and our friend Karl Rove was there, and they're talking about strategies to stop the insurgency of Donald Trump and all this. But the reality is they can't get people to vote no matter how much money they throw at Trump. It's not working. And he addressed that tonight. But it seems like they want a brokered convention. John Kasich says it'll be exciting. I don't think there's anything exciting about it because the establishment would try and steal it for Trump or Cruz.
Right, but I don't find it charming whatsoever to try and be subversive and steal the votes of the people when they have spoken loudly and clearly. You should respect that. We've worked very hard in this country to be able to have the right to vote, to have this kind of democracy and this kind of freedom to exercise choices decisively people have. So then I want to echo what Eric said, which is this was not so far a very good night at all for Marco Rubio. And this is someone who has a bright, promising political future. And if he does want to be able to run for governor of Florida, I'll tell you what, he certainly cannot take a loss in his own state. So there's going to have to be some serious self-reflection and some assessment in terms of what is the best strategic move for him going forward. Kasich did, well tonight. I don't think that he needs to be getting out at this point. But again, the people that want to have the party unified, that are looking at Rubio or Cruz, there is a very strong, credible argument at this point to say if you're a person that's trying to stop Donald Trump, you're certainly not going to do it with 4 still staying in the race because it hurts the math for that size.
Why would you say Rubio gets out, who has more delegates, about 150 versus, and I'm not adding tonight's delegates, whatever he might get. They didn't have a good night by any objective measure. And Kasich has 37 delegates. He'll get more out of Michigan tonight. But, why don't, in other words, why are you saying Rubio out and then Kasich stays in? And I'm trying to understand that.
Well, I think Kasich is in much better position in Ohio than Rubio is even right now in Florida. And
That's a good point.
Everybody knows that Rubio wants to, go for further office. Kasich's already had like all the top spots except for president or vice president, correct? So he's still somebody who has a tremendous amount to offer in this race, and to be able to go forward, I think he's got to be everybody's like apple of their eye as it relates to becoming the vice presidential, candidate, to be able to go forward, because you don't win the United States presidency without the state of Ohio, that's for sure.
Let me go to a point, Kirsten Powers, that Donald Trump was making in his presser tonight, and that is how the enthusiasm is certainly on the Republican side this election year. Participation is up, 30, 40% on average across the country. Democratic turnout down 30 or 40%.
Right.
That does not bode well for the Democrats in a general election, does it?
No, it doesn't, especially because you have another historical candidate. You have a first woman, potential first woman president, obviously first woman Democratic candidate, and so that theoretically should be driving out voters. And so what that says to you is that, you're not seeing the kind of excitement that you would see with a Barack Obama, for example. It's not transferring to Hillary Clinton, except, interestingly, among African-American voters, where she is getting the same numbers in terms of turnout and sometimes even exceeding him. And that's really what's carrying her through this race right now.
Yeah. Do you, as a Democrat, do you look at her? I think it's fairly inevitable she gets the nomination, but I also think that Donald Trump raised a good point. I don't think it's a fait accompli. If, in fact, the FBI goes forward with a criminal recommendation, we know that at some point it's going to get leaked to the public. That's going to be a big problem whether she gets indicted or not, right?
Assuming that happened, obviously, if she was indicted, then yes, that would be a huge problem for her. If there's a referral and then she's not indicted, I think that that's going to be less of a problem. It still would be a huge problem, but these are things that haven't happened, and so I don't think that but I'll agree with you that if they happen, it would be extremely problematic for her.
All right, guys, thank you all for being with us. By the way, special edition of The Five at midnight tonight right here on Fox, and we'll be watching Kimberly and Eric. Thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.